Alright. So, I am going to be talking about the METS with DC-based schema and premise for a collection of digital educational documentaries. And I am Iris Manning. So here's a description of the collection, and it's very similar to the collection that my team and I did for our first assignment. So it's describing born digital documentaries used for education in the classroom, and because these are stored in a way that the video is stored as a file, it needs administrative and descriptive metadata. So I used METS with a DC-based schema and premise. The DC-based schema for educational documentaries, like I mentioned earlier, is used for the descriptive metadata, which talks about the details of the particular documentary at hand. Then the premise is the administrative data, and that's the agents that are involved with the administration of this collection, the system, and events that can happen to the objects in the system. And it also records information on representations, files, and rights of the individual documentaries. And METS also contains information on files. This is something we'll talk about later, but it's used to aggregate files and associate them with one particular object in the system. So I'm going to do a quick overview of the DC-based profile, which is called G5 after the name of our group. It represents a collection of documentaries, and here a documentary describes a single documentary, as you might expect. Each documentary is assigned a unique doc ID, which is a 4-digit number, and that would usually be up here in attributes. If I were to expand on this, you would see the particular ID. This is something that actually was not in the initial schema that I did for the first assignment, and I added it on so that it would be able to associate a documentary in the system with the files. And here you can see some of the particular information that the schema describes things like the title, subject, description, format, publisher, language, coverage, date, etc., etc. So this is kind of describing the object in the collection, the particular documentary at hand. And I used a premise-based schema to record administrative information on the objects. And agents instantiated to apply. Agent is instantiated to apply to system administrators. Events are used to record information about object creation, deletion, and basically any changes that will happen to objects or that an agent can do, any any events or actions are included in that. And object refers to the files and representations associated with a documentary in the system. And METS is the combination, each METS instance is a combination of the administrative and descriptive metadata. Each METS file, the way I implemented it, describes one particular object in the system. So it applies to one documentary. The header contains metadata about the METS document, the METS object itself. DMDSec contains descriptive metadata, and in this case it was written in the DC schema, as I mentioned before. AMD contains administrative metadata, and in this case it was written in premise. And a lot of the way that I instantiated it, it's mostly information that has to do with the files on a computer, like the original file before it was split. FileSec points to different file locations of the segments of a video because they're split up. It associates all these segments into one coherent object. And then the structural map links file, administrative, and descriptive metadata together. So each METS instance contains a complete bundle of information on one particular documentary, and that is all I have for this presentation.